You are 19 years old. You have $340, not $340,000, not $3,400, $340, and a laptop with a cracked screen held together by a strip of tape you keep meaning to replace but never do. No college, no safety net, no family you can call when things go sideways. And here's the thing nobody tells you about starting with nothing. It is not a disadvantage. It is a detonator. You start reselling, not because it's your passion, because it's the only door that's open at 11 p.m. when you're sitting at a secondhand desk in a room you share with someone else, and you are too stubborn to sleep. The first mistake cost you $80. You bought a product for $80, sold it for $75. The market did not care that you needed the money. It corrected you immediately, the way only real money lost can. No textbook teaches you what that moment teaches you. You learn margins, not from a professor. Humiliating sting of watching your own account go down instead of up. And you learn fast. Because slow learning is a luxury, and luxury is not something you can afford yet. By the time you were 21, you were pulling $3,200 a month from a small e-commerce operation you built entirely out of free YouTube videos, failed experiments, and stubbornness that bordered on irrational. Nobody's writing about you. Nobody knows your name. You're not impressive by any external measure, but something has shifted inside you, quietly, the way important things always shift. You understand now that systems make money. Ours don't. You have just built your first system. You reinvest everything, every dollar, back in. You live on $900 a month for 2 straight years. This sounds like discipline when you tell it later. In the moment, it just sounds like Tuesday. Same meals, no going out. You are the boring friend, the one who leaves early, the one who says, I can't to enough things that people stop asking. You accept this. You don't love it, you accept it, because the compound interest on sacrifice doesn't show up in any spreadsheet, but it shows up. You are 22, and you make your first serious mistake, not the $80 thing, something that cost you months. You hired too fast. 3 people on payroll before the revenue justified 3 people. You convinced yourself the growth was real, because you needed the growth to be real. That is a dangerous thing, needing something to be true so badly that you stop checking if it is. 4 months later, you are paying salaries out of your own savings, while a product line that was supposed to work doesn't. You shut it down. You let the person go. You handle it professionally. You feel it personally. Both of those things are true at the same time, and you learn to hold them both without resolving them. Then comes the Sunday night. You know the one. Every builder has one. You open the bank app, you see a number that looks like the number you started with 3 years ago, and for the first time in a long time, maybe the first time since you were 19, you genuinely don't know if you're going the right direction. You don't quit, but you get surgical. No more chasing the next thing. You go deep into the thing that is already working. You study it like you're afraid of losing it, because you are. You learn which customers stay and which customers leave. You learn which margins are real and which ones just look real from a distance. You learn the difference between a business that's growing and revenue that's growing, and you discover, uncomfortably, that those two things are not always the same. By 23, the operation is leaner than it has ever been. Less overhead, less noise, less people, more profit. You're making more money with fewer moving parts, less stress, and 2 fewer salaries to carry. And for the first time, the business doesn't feel like something you're dragging uphill. It feels like something that could run without you. That is the shift. That is the moment everything changes. Not when the revenue went up, not when the first deal closed, the moment the system didn't need you to breathe for it to keep breathing. Because that is what a real business is. Not a job you created for yourself, a machine you built, and you are just getting started. You file this away somewhere permanent inside you, not in a notebook, not in a voice memo. Inside you. Complexity is not progress. Clarity is. You will carry this into rooms you cannot yet picture, with numbers you cannot yet imagine, and it will hold every single time. You are 24 now, and the money isn't the only thing that's changing. You are changing, quietly, in ways that won't be visible to anyone around you for years. You've started reading differently, not business books, not hustle content. You are studying founders, people who built things at a scale you haven't touched yet, and you're not reading them for motivation. You're reading them for patterns. You're looking for the moves that repeat, the decisions that show up in every massive outcome. Regardless of industry, regardless of era, regardless of the story the founder tells about themselves in interviews, you find them, and there are fewer than you expected. The game is simpler than it looks from the outside, and harder than it looks from the inside. You are learning both of those things at the same time, in the same body, on the same Tuesday afternoon. The business has evolved twice. It is now generating $31,000 a month. You have $180,000 saved. You have never said that number out loud, not to a friend, not to family, not to anyone. Not because you're ashamed of it, because you've noticed, with a precision that surprises even you, that numbers change how people look at you. And you don't want to be looked at differently. Not yet. Not now. Not when you still need people to talk to you like you're just a person. So you keep it quiet, you keep your head down, and you keep building. You hire 2 people. This is the first thing you do in this entire journey that genuinely terrifies you. Not the $80 loss, not the 4-month contraction, not the Sunday night with the bank app. This. Because now the machine has dependence. Other people's rent is connected to your decisions, other people's groceries, other people's ability to say yes or no to things in their own lives. That is now partially a function of how well you execute. You feel this weight in one specific place, just below the sternum, like a pressure that doesn't hurt but doesn't leave. It doesn't go away. You stop waiting for it to go away. You learn to work with it, to use it the way a pilot uses turbulence as information instead of panic. It tells you something is real now. It tells you the stakes have changed. It is uncomfortable, and it is correct. You make your first real outside investment, $40,000, into a small software company run by someone who knows more than you in one very specific domain. You write the check, and then you do something most people are completely incapable of doing. You step back. You don't check the dashboard every day. You don't send weekly check-ins disguised as questions. You don't slowly insert yourself into decisions that aren't yours to make. You let the person who knows more than you, make the decisions in their domain. Here's what most people miss about this. It is not humility. It is not generosity. It is strategy. Most people cannot do this. And the reason isn't intelligence. It's ego. The belief, buried somewhere below conscious thought, that delegating means losing. That if you're not in the room, you're being left behind. You never had that belief. Maybe because growing up with very little teaches you something that money can't. That control is mostly an illusion. That the people white-knuckling their grip on every decision are usually the ones who end up losing the thing they were trying to protect. You learned to let go early. Not because it was easy, because you didn't have the luxury of holding on. You are 27. The software company calls. Your $40,000 has returned $340,000. Read that again. $40,000 became $340,000. You have just made your first seven-figure decision. Not a seven-figure income. Not a seven-figure net worth. A single point in time where the math became something different. Where you looked at the board and realized you'd been playing the right game the whole time. Just at a smaller table. You don't pop champagne. You don't post. You sit with the number for an afternoon. Alone. In the same kind of quiet you've always done your best thinking in. What you feel is not joy exactly. Not relief exactly. It's something closer to confirmation. Like hearing a sound you've been listening for so long you'd started to wonder if you imagined it. And somewhere beneath that, a new number forming. A new question beginning to take shape in the back of your mind. How big can this actually get? You suspected it for years. Not hope. Suspected. There's a difference. Hope is passive. Hope sits and waits and needs things to go its way. Suspicion is active. Suspicion watches. Accumulates evidence. Builds a case in the background of every decision, every sacrifice, every Sunday night staring at a number that didn't make sense yet. Your suspicion was this, that what you were doing was real, that the direction was correct, that the long, invisible, expensive, lonely work of building something from nothing was not a delusion you had conveniently talked yourself into. And now, the number has spoken. It was not a delusion. You call your mother. You don't tell her the number. You tell her things are going well. She says she knew they would. You don't cry on the phone, but you come close. You take the capital, and you move it into 3 new positions, not recklessly, methodically. You have a framework now, built from 6 years of decisions, 6 years of outcomes, 6 years of the specific education that no university offers and no textbook contains. The kind you can only get by being wrong with real money and having to figure out why. You know what a strong founding team looks like the moment you're in the room with one. You know what a market looks like right before it opens. The specific tension in it, like a door that's about to give. You know the difference between a company solving a real problem and a company that invented a problem to justify the company's existence. These are not things you learned. These are things you earned. You are 29. Your net worth is $47 million. And you haven't slept a full night in 4 months. Not because something is wrong, because something is happening. And you can feel it the way you used to feel the ceiling of a room as a child, lying in the dark, aware of the walls around you. Except now you are feeling the opposite. You are feeling the absence of a ceiling. And the absence is its own kind of disorienting, because you spent a decade training yourself to operate under pressure, under scarcity, under the specific gravity of not having enough. And now, the gravity is shifting, and you have to learn how to move inside a new physics. The company you co-founded 2 years ago is growing at a rate the model did not predict. Not because the model was wrong, because the market was bigger than anyone understood, including you. You had estimated a ceiling, built your projections around it, organized your strategy beneath it. The ceiling does not exist. Every week the projections update. Every week you revise, not just the numbers, but your entire understanding of what you are building, who it's for, how far it reaches, what it could become. And here's what nobody tells you about this level. Below $10 million, you are building something. Above 10 million, you are steering something. Above 100 million, you are no longer steering. You are positioning. You are not deciding what to do next. You are deciding where to stand so that what happens next lands in your favor. The skill changes entirely. The person it requires you to be changes entirely. You are becoming that person in real time. And it is not always clean. It is not always comfortable. Some days it feels like wearing a version of yourself that doesn't quite fit yet. You wear it anyway. You are 31. The company goes public. The number assigned to your stake on the morning of the IPO is $2.3 billion. Read that slowly. $2.3 billion. You started with $340 and a cracked laptop screen in a shared room where you slept on the wrong side of the mattress and ate the same meals 4 days in a row because you could not afford to be bored by food. That was 12 years ago. This morning, the number on the screen is $2.3 billion. You do not ring a bell. You do not stand on a stage. You don't film it for content. You watch the ticker from a glass-walled conference room with 6 other people who built this thing alongside you, who took calls at 2 a.m. and made hard decisions and bet on this when it was not safe to bet on it. Someone opens a bottle of something expensive. You drink 1 glass. You feel the weight of the moment fully, and you also feel, with total clarity, that this is not the destination. It is a coordinate, a verified point on a map that has far more terrain ahead of it than behind it. The journalists want a narrative. They want the story of the kid from nothing who made billions, the clean arc, the origin scene, the lesson wrapped up at the end. You give them a version of it, a true version, but not the whole version, because the whole version is not a story with an ending. It is a method, and the method is still running. They want the narrative, the adversity, the hustle, the turning point scene where everything clicked and the music swelled, and you just knew that it was going to work. You give them an outline, not because you owe it to them, because you understand, at this level, that narrative is a currency, and you are not careless with any currency. But the real story is not the one they print. The real story is $340. The real story is the cracked screen held together with tape you never replaced. The real story is 2 years of the same meals, not as a choice you romanticized, as a constraint you accepted. The real story is the $80 that became $75, and the specific quiet humiliation of losing money on your very first real attempt and going back the next day anyway. The real story is the weight just below the sternum that showed up when the machine got dependence and never fully left. You don't say any of this in the interview. You say you worked hard, got lucky, and had great people around you. All three of those things are true. They are just not the whole truth. The whole truth is not a soundbite. It is not a 3-act structure. It is a decade and a half of compounding decisions made in rooms no one was watching, for reasons no one was asking about, toward an outcome no one believed in yet. You don't owe the world the whole truth. You owe it to yourself to remember it. You are 33. The net worth has crossed $10 billion, and the word trillion has begun appearing, not in headlines, not yet, but in serious rooms, in serious conversations, applied to you and the trajectory of your stake with a matter-of-factness that should feel surreal, but somehow doesn't. You've heard it. You haven't confirmed it. You haven't denied it. You treat the gap between where you are and where they're projecting the same way you've treated every gap in your life, as real, as requiring work, as not guaranteed by anything except the quality of the decisions still ahead of you. Here is what $10 billion feels like from the inside. For what it's worth, it feels like information. It feels like a resource with volume and directionality, something that has preferences, that wants to move toward certain things and resists others. It is not static. It is not a pile. It is a living system, and it requires the same attention you gave the $3,200 a month operation when you were 21 and everything depended on getting it right. It does not feel like security. This is the part that surprises people most when you describe it, if you describe it. Security is a feeling, and feelings are not produced by numbers above a certain threshold. What the number produces above that threshold is not security. It is weight, responsibility, obligation. The knowledge that the machine now touches enough lives, enough systems, enough futures, that a miscalculation does not just cost you, it costs outward, in every direction, to people you will never meet. You have more weight now than you have ever carried. You carry it well. You have been carrying things your whole life, but you do not pretend it is light.